in this video, I'm going to go through this formula here. R equals c squared divided by 2h. Pretty convenient for remembering a formula. You have to remember to get the length of c. So typically in the field you're going to have this is pretty easy to measure. You could use a string line, and then you can bisect this perpendicular bisector will actually always point towards the middle of the circle or of an arc if it's a radius circle. And you can use the height, and then you can use half this distance. We'll call this straight edge. I think that's what this was initials was for, was the straight edge, and then this would be straight edge divided by 2. So h squared plus side edge divided by 2 squared will equal c squared, right? So right here, to get c, you just take the square root of that. That's pretty standard stuff. And then what you have is a triangle here, and this angle here, MA, is well, there's a name for it, but it's in both of these triangles. It's a common angle between this right triangle here. Let's say enter. Yeah, let's make that purple, and we'll set that on top. I don't think I turned it to purple. Have to hit apply. So that purple triangle there, let's maybe even make it thicker. All right. That common angle here is also in this triangle. While the triangles are not the same, they're similar because they have the same angle. So this angle right here is going to be the same as this angle. I'll do the same thing here just to show you. So they're exactly the same, but the lengths let's measure the hypotenuse on this one as c, comes out to 29.15, and then the radius, this will be the radius that we're looking for, is 28.33. So they're very similar just because of the size of the shape of this example, but they're not the same. However, the triangles are similar, right? So we kind of got that you need to know. So the diagonal divided by the height would be the sine. It's actually the cosecant, right? So the cosecant of this triangle will be the same as the cosecant of this triangle. I don't know if that's necessarily what you need to know, but the diagonal divided by the height of this triangle will be exactly the same as the height divided by the C2, the diagonal divided by the C2 of this triangle. So let's see. So C divided by H, because you just calculated C. C divided by H is equal to the radius, which is this length, the diagonal here. We're going to call that the diagonal of this one to the height of this one, the diagonal of this one to the height of this one. So we don't know R, so we're going to solve for R. So C divided by H is equal to R divided by C divided by 2, right here. Let's make that bigger. All right, C divided by H is equal to R, the hypotenuse to the height, hypotenuse to the height. In this case, the hypotenuse is R, and the H is C divided by 2. So they're equal. And then you do some algebra. C divided by H is equal to R times 2C. So you just invert that, multiply the dividend by the reciprocal of the divisor for, if you're not sure what the algebra is. And then you have R times 2 over C. And then to get the C cancels, goes over here, you end up with C squared. The 2 goes to the bottom, you end up with 2H, and you're left with R by itself. So you solve for R. And you end up with C squared divided by 2H is equal to the radius. And that is the step that was missing here. It said C squared is equal to h plus, so there was the Pythagorean theorem to solve for c, right? But actually solve for c squared. But I wouldn't use, I guess you could use c squared there, but getting the algebra is why that ends up being c squared. It's not just dropping down to c squared here. And so there's a few steps missing in this, but r does equal c squared divided by 2 and by 2h, and to measure that, c squared, let's do the tools, calculate. It won't be exact because there's just not even doing any rounding here. C squared divided by 2 times h, and then h here in this case is 15, so tools, calculator. Let's bring this out one more point, decimal point. Let's actually go 2. Copy that. So go to tools, calculator, control V, squared, that'd be c squared times, divided by, I'm going to put parentheses 2 times 15, and then that should equal the radius, so that doesn't equal the radius, 2 by 2h, c squared divided by 2h, control V, squared divided by, open parentheses, 2 times 15, should be a very big number, right? Compute 28.333, right? And that's what you get. So that is the radius of that circle, right? Show you that's the circle, and that's the center of the radius. Anyway, that's where that formula gets derived, and I hope that helps you in your schoolwork. Thanks for watching. And in the field, right?